Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, comics we want to read, and everything in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today we got the continuation of the kind of Donny Cates symbiote Chronicles or whatever saga.
Well, yeah, we really liked the last one, so we were like, well, what else is a continuation of the story? So
Yes. So yeah, like we said, we really liked Venom. We both enjoyed that thoroughly. So we were like, hey, let's continue with this, and we just jumped ahead. I don't know, one or two trades, and we just jumped to the event that he did called Absolute Carnage, and it was cool because this didn't skip a beat. You could literally start this event just from the first trade and know what was going on pretty much. There's only like one or two things that were like, oh, I didn't know that, but that was about it. Like everything else, but you could still follow along fine. So, yeah, and like we said, this is written by Donny Cates and art again by Ryan Stegman. I'm liking his art more and more. Like every time I look at the pages, I'm like, wow, this is done really well. So, like I love the scenes. There's a lot of scenes where things are running into Venom or Carnage, and like it's always a truck or something.
yeah, that's true. There's some more of that. That was nice.
And I'm a fan of those. Like the way that he draws them getting hit, it's kind of like they're liquid or something, where like the mouths like flare out.
Yeah.
And
That's one thing with Venom and the symbiotes being this like liquid mass technically that goes over people. Like it's still always really defined, even if it's like splattering out into something. Like you can tell it's with purpose. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to draw the blob like this.
Right.
Like it looks good.
Yeah, it's not just him flicking ink on a page or something.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I guess we'll just jump straight into it because you could, like we said, you could continue this from pretty much the last. It continues the story arc from what was going on in Venom Rex, which was there is the god Null, and he is trying to get all the symbiote beings so that way he can like round them up, and once he has all of them, he can free himself from the prison, the symbiote prison. So he has recruited Venom, also known as he has recruited Carnage, who also known as Cassidy.
Cletus Cassidy.
Cletus Cassidy, sorry.
No.
I was like, Clay? Ah, fuck, I forgot.
Cassius Clay. Cletus Cassidy. Oh, okay.
Cletus Cassidy.
Cletus Cassidy.
Who plays Carnage, and for all of you who don't know, Carnage is like the first break off of the Venom symbiote. He's like way crazier because he like it's like the Venom symbiote suit broke off and like went and possessed a serial killer named Cletus Cassidy, and that's why Carnage is the way he is, because he's like,
it's like
a
super
serial killer.
hate-filled, super
yeah. And they kind of go into his backstory a little bit, like why he's so the way he is and stuff. They actually had like a little dossier on him at the end and everything. So I don't know if that was history before, like if that was lore or whatever.
I didn't know enough about Carnage before.
I don't either.
Venom is as far as I got into.
Literally, the most I know about Carnage is that when I was like 8, I had cards, little holographic, collector's cards of Venom and Wolverine in a sewer, and I'm sure I know I had Carnage as well, and I just thought they looked so cool.
Yeah.
That's the extent of my knowledge of Carnage.
Yeah, I had I remember Carnage a little bit from that 90s Spider-Man TV show, and I just remember...
Is he in that?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, I don't remember him in that at all.
It's at a point where Venom needs Spider-Man's help and to take out Carnage, and then the other people that Carnage teams up with, and that's all I remember from that. Is like, okay, he's a really bad Venom.
Okay. So in this lore, apparently... Cletus Cassidy had died in previous runs of Venom or Carnage or Spider-Man, not sure where. And so Null actually uses his body, like possesses it with the Grendel/Dragon symbiote that he was in the first Venom Rex trade. So that Grendel symbiote finds Cletus Cassidy's body, possesses it, and now it's like an undead Carnage. so it's even crazier and evil. And he's all like, the way they show him is he's always like super way taller and bigger, like his bones and everything gets stretched out by the.
It kind of reminded me of a Spawn creation.
Yeah,
a little bit. Like that's
I can
kind of
see
the
that.
flair I got from it, because it looked like the longer stretch out, the one that the clown turns into. I don't remember the name.
The Violator. That's what I'm like. The Annihilator. One of those.
But that's what it kind of reminded me of, because it was longer. You could like really kind of tell his rib cage and
yeah, and like literally his spine was showing underneath his rib cage, so there was no like body or no torso meat or anything. So,
he's cool.
It was very cool. It was a cool design. So yeah, like basically, he is now on the mission to collect not just the symbiotes, because what was filled in the trade in between is that anybody who's worn the suit has a piece of the venom or the symbiotes in their DNA. So it's like they call them the codices, like it's a codex of around their DNA that's a symbiote. So Cassidy is trying to find everybody who's ever been a symbiote and taking that venom DNA codex from them. And so that's what he's doing. And this starts off, I guess, with this collects the free comic book day issue that came out last year, which I guess set it up for new readers, and then 1 through 5 of the Absolute Carnage series. So we get the opening free comic book day thing was like a short little story just introducing this idea. It shows Eddie Brock, and he's in prison, where he's getting like interrogated at first, and then he gets thrown in prison. And then there's a guy named Lee, right?
Yeah, like Lee Pace, I think.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know who the hell this is, but apparently he was someone who wore the Venom suit before. And Lee's like, "Hey, Brock, you think you're a big shot, but you don't have your suit, and I do." Well, actually, I don't even know if he had a suit. He just had his. He had like a tattoo or something
showing like I'm the true like
Venom.
you don't have your suit. So therefore, you don't have nothing, and
like we're equal. And in here, I'm Venom, like I'm the badass or whatever. And he had a tattoo with the Venom like symbol on his chest or whatever, like the whole chest. And so then we see like Eddie Brock in quotation marks, like goes to fight him, and he punches him, and automatically like Lee is like something's wrong, and like basically he kills that dude. He kills Lee and like pulls. The symbiote comes out of Lee and like goes on to Eddie. And in quotation marks, Eddie. And then he proceeds to kill everybody else in the prison and break out. And he's on the run. And this is Rikers Island, because he's not in some special prison.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have a suit or anything, so he was just a regular human, they thought. So then that's kind of where it ends. Like Carnage is now sitting on top of a thing. And so basically, they didn't say 100% this, but basically Carnage was pretending to be Eddie, and he just to get in prison, basically.
Yeah, they dropped like little hints, like if you were really like reading and paying attention, but otherwise you're just like, why Eddie Brock is in prison? He's breaking
why is he Carnage now or whatever? Yeah. So like basically, Eddie, the real Eddie is on the run now because now he's a fugitive, and he wasn't even doing anything. And then. And now Carnage is out, and he's looking for someone to kill, and he sees Spider-Man flying, and he's like, "Oh, I'll start with him," or whatever. And then that's the end of that issue. So it was just a short little like teaser to try to get you want to read Absolute Carnage #1. So it was good. I liked it, and it did make me want to read.
Yeah.
So then #1 starts off with Eddie Brock, and he's like, he's walking with a kid, and he tells his kid he's his brother apparently.
You're my little brother.
Yeah, you're my little brother, little man or whatever. And they're walking, and then they're like, we gotta hide, or we gotta like get away from Carnage because we know he's like trying to find us, basically. And they're like, we gotta lay low. And then they walk into like Times Square, and his face is over all the TVs because now he's a wanted man, and he just broke out of Rikers Island and murdered everybody there and everything. So, yeah, he's like, oh fuck. And then he kind of like feels. I think he just feels them, or he just notices someone following him.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, someone's following us. We got to go down to the subway. So he runs down like some stairs, and he goes to the subway, and they're waiting for the train, which is pulling up. But right as it's about to pull up, Cletus, who was like, I guess reading a newspaper down there. I don't know if he beat him there or if he was just faster than them or something. But he like pushes Eddie out of the way. You see his face with his red hair, and he's got like a crazy mouth. And that's the other thing. Like sometimes he appears as Cletus, like he was when he was a human. Like his face looks normal, and then sometimes he's got like a rotten face and everything. So, and he pushes Eddie, or he pushes the boy down, right? And and Eddie too, I guess. And then Eddie has to like Venom out, and this is where you get a vehicle hitting a symbiote.
Yeah,
and
the big train. Ugh.
Yeah, so he grabs the train, or like he stops the train from killing him and the boy, and then Carnage starts to is like, hey Eddie, I'm back. I'm gonna kick your ass and I'm gonna kill you, and like anybody who's ever worn the suit. And he's gigantic. He's like way bigger, way stronger looking.
Yeah, Eddie knows right away. He's like, oh, that's the Grendel.
Yeah,
and it was part of him. Like something. This is messed up.
Yeah, and so they're fighting and it is not going well. And like basically Venom's like, oh my god, I didn't know he was this strong. And like he's talking to Eddie. He's like, I don't think we can do this, man. We gotta run away or do something. And so like Eddie figures out, oh, I'll just grab the third rail, which is like the electrified rail for the train, and that'll like at least shock him enough to make it so he'll put us down or whatever. So he does that and they run away. So
I like that part too, because like he grabs the third rail and they're both like, you can see it almost like it's about trying to rip the symbiotes off of them.
Yeah, Venom's like, no, like please Eddie, no.
And so they're trying to find a place, and then it's like, oh, I know where to go. And the kid, the kid is talking to Eddie is Venom, and he's like, oh hey,
oh that was cool. Yeah, like
he's like
the kid's walking with Eddie, and Eddie's like stooped over, and the kid's like helping him walk. And he's like, hey Eddie, where do you think we should go? And he's like, hey, Eddie's not here right now. Like I'm in the shape of Eddie or whatever.
He's in a coma. I'm taking care of him, fixing him up internally.
Yeah, but Eddie ain't here, so just keep going wherever you're going, kid, or whatever. So that was cool. That was cool. That like basically Venom can just take over when he's in pilot mode or whatever.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, so they show up at the door, and someone opens the door. I couldn't know if it was Miles or if it was just another friend of Peter Parker's.
It wasn't Miles, I don't think. Maybe
I
you know what?
100%.
Maybe it is. I didn't even put that together. But Miles is in this, so
yeah.
Like I said, I just keep forgetting that he's actually in this universe. So
yeah. But he's like, it's for you, Peter. And then it shows him.
Yeah. Oh, and this was weird too, because I was like, wait, does Eddie know that he's Spider-Man or not? Because then later on, Spider-Man was like, well, luckily Peter told you to come here or whatever, and he like brought him to a diner, so like, or told him to meet him at a diner. So I was like, wait, is he doing that for the kid, so he doesn't spoil the secret identity for the kid, or is it for Venom?
I still assume that it was Eddie Brock being like, Peter Parker takes pictures of Spider-Man, so he knows where that. Yeah,
that's where I went in my brain. I guess, but I don't know. I couldn't tell if it was like he's trying to hide it from everybody else, or And that was also funny. Like, I guess Spider-Man could just like hang out in a diner without people like freaking out or taking pictures or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh wait, it's like Hollywood Boulevard where all those weirdos are dressed like Spider-Man and they just like go to get coffee and stuff. You're standing behind the Incredible Hulk in the McDonald's line or whatever. Like
that's not they're like, that's not the real Spider-Man.
Yeah, there's no way that's the real one. So
that was fun. They're in the coffee shop, they're having coffee or whatever, and it was funny because Eddie's brother was like kind of like standoffish, and like Spider-Man's like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, screw you, man.
Yeah, he's like, you're a menace.
Yeah.
And then he like walks. He's like, why don't you go get us a couple coffees, kid, or whatever. And then Eddie's like, yeah, that's actually my kid. And he's like, oh, that makes sense. That's why he hates me.
That's why you're hanging out with a child. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. It's weird otherwise.
Because it's like, spill the beans. Why you got this kid with you, Eddie? Like, that's weird. You're not a child person,
Yeah.
But turns out, I guess Eddie Brock had a girlfriend. I don't know. I can't remember her name. Was Alice or something like that.
Yeah.
And she died, and he had his son. And so that's like, I guess we missed where he was raised and everything, but apparently at some point he picked him up, and like now they're on the, now they're together, but he thinks he's his brother. So yeah, basically they're like, okay, we got to come up with a plan, and basically, why don't you, like they're talking to each other, and Spider-Man's like, I'll go get the nice heroes that everybody, is cool with, and you go get the evil people that have been the symbiotes. And Eddie's like, well, we got to drop the kids off first. I think they go back to Rex's place, actually.
Yeah.
And they're like, break, and then, and then,
well, that was fun because I just like the banner in this one part because they get interrupted with that, and some like guys come in the diner and like, nobody move, give me all your money. And
oh yeah,
Spider-Man's
I forgot
like,
about this.
hold on, they look at each other and they're like, Spider-Man's like, you want to play rock paper scissors? He's like, no, you got this.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care about this.
Yeah, so Spider-Man goes and beats him up, and he's like trying to hurry because they have other things to attend to, and he stops him fast, and then Spider-Man's like, I gotta go. Tell the cops I said something like witty and quippy to you guys. I got a reputation of all.
Yeah. And then we see we go back to Rex's where the Rex base was, I guess, and where all the guns were in the original one in the Freddy Krueger furnace. And when they show up, there's this weird guy that we get introduced to named the Maker, who's there already, and it seemed like Peter Parker already knew him. And Peter Parker's like, hey, this guy's gonna help us out. Basically, they ask him to make a machine for them that can remove the codices from the people who've been infected with the Venom suit before. And it's funny because when they ask him, he's already like, hey, I've got a machine. It just happens to be built already. I started building it like 3 months ago. And
I knew this was coming.
Yeah, I knew this was coming. And you're like, who's this guy? And apparently this dude named the Maker is like a dark Reed Richards, which was a very cool idea, but I'd never heard of this character before.
Yeah, me neither.
And it's basically like what if Reed Richards was a little bit more sinister, I guess? I don't know what his full intentions are, but he seemed a lot like everything's secret and hidden. And he's got his own agenda beyond just helping people and being a good guy. And he's got like this weird helmet that kind of gives him like an alien head, like from the movie Alien.
Yeah, it was kind of cool, creepy looking.
Yeah, it was kind of
like all you saw was it was like covered his.
It had like a visor, like a flash visor almost, and I don't know, it was cool.
His big, like creepy looking grin.
It almost looked like in the second Hellraiser movie when the Doctor gets like the attachment. I thought there was going to be like floating. He was going to be floating around from his helmet, but there was no arm above him. It just reminded me. I always kept expecting that, but it didn't happen. But anyway, so they go to this guy, the Maker, and he's like, "Oh, I already got a machine. We can already throw everybody in there." It removes the codices and it also destroys them. So that way Null will never get resurrected. And he's like, "Oh, great.
Awesome. That's
perfect.
Great.
That's exactly what we need."
Let's go get Norman Osborn and
Yeah. Oh, and also on the TV, when they're in the diner.
It was in the diner. That's right. The mass grave.
On the TV, they find a mass grave. They're like, "Oh my God, reporting live. There's a mass grave found, and all these dead bodies of everybody who's ever worn a symbiote that was dead has been found, and all of their spines are missing." So basically, he found everybody who was dead too, because apparently the symbiote codices, like you can just pull it out of their spine. And some of this wasn't spelled out exactly. We were just kind of connecting the dots as we see them. So if we were wrong, we apologize. But that's how I thought it was. So that's what I thought it was about. So now they're like, okay, we got to go get Norman Osborn because he's the next target, obviously, and he's in prison, and he's in like crazy prison, or like they go to the where he's being held, kind of like in solitary confinement. And they're like, okay, we need to break in there, but we also need him to not be like awake because he's crazy and he's all like, he's going to attack us or something's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, Carnage shows up, but at the beginning of the prison. And he starts walking through. And as he's walking through, all of these prison guys are like, hey, let me out. Who are you? Or whatever. And he just appears like in his hand, these little Carnage insects that are like little symbiote bugs or whatever, and he like starts thumb throwing them, flicking them over to the each jail cell, and then you hear like, what the fuck, what is that, get it off me, oh my God. And then like basically he's turning all of them into like symbiotes, which is crazy. And I'm like, isn't this creating more work later on? Like, isn't this just more symbiotes to track down if they ever, if they get away or something? But I guess maybe these ones are under his control or something, so it's all good.
Yeah, it seemed like he had power over him.
Yeah. So, and Eddie and Spider-Man are arguing like, come on, we gotta figure out, how to get in this place without him being awake and everything. And then like, holy shit, he's right behind us.
Yeah, they basically get pushed and thrown through the metal door in enormous.
Yeah, while they're like talking about getting in the metal door, it's like, oh, I'll make the choice for you. And then Carnage like pushes them through the door.
Yeah, so Venom picks the door back up and is like, I'm gonna hold it shut. You figure out how to deal with the Red Goblin now over there.
Yeah,
and
he's all cut up and everything. It looks like he's got a razor or something behind his back, and he was like gonna stab him. He got some kind of shank he made, but he was like cutting himself in the meantime and everything. So it was kind of messed up.
I just thought it was cool because he wakes up or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, we have to hurry up and get him out of here before Cassidy gets in here. He's like, I'm already in here with you guys.
Yeah. He's like, I am Cassidy. And he's like, shut up.
You can tell he's really lost it.
Yeah, he literally thinks he is Carnage, for real. Carnage basically eventually breaks through, pushes through the door again, and then they're fighting, and basically this part was interesting. Spider-Man's like, we got to get out of here or else he's going to kill us. And they're both going to kill us because now Carnage has like absorbed or given symbiote to Norman, who's like, now I'm Carnage. And he's like, no, I'm Carnage.
I'm Carnage.
He's like, nah, I'm Carnage.
It was cool. Like there was a splash page. He give it to him and then he looks like he's like puppet mastering Norman Osborn as Carnage.
Yeah, a little Carnage.
A little Carnage.
Yeah. And then, so Eddie Brock's got the door. And he's holding it, kind of like defending him and Spider-Man. And he's like, just break through the wall or whatever. Like, we're stuck in this room. And all these symbiotes are on the other side by the door. And there's nowhere for us to go. So just, like, start punching the hole in the wall. So, like, I thought this was weird. Spider-Man, like, gets his web and, like, wraps it around his hands like he needs gloves or, like so that his knuckles won't get hurt.
Yeah.
And then he, like, starts punching through the wall. But he's not doing that much. And they kept showing. I was waiting for it to do something, and it never did anything. He just kept punching and punching and punching and not going anywhere. And then
he's like, I'm out of web fluid, so I don't know what to do now.
Yeah,
and he's like, all right. He like turns I guess he's like making his hand bigger or whatever as he's going to punch and just like, boom, right through the wall.
Yeah. And so like they break through the wall and then they're hanging on the outside of a building. And then, like, that's where Venom shows he's got wings down. Yeah.
I love that. Like, Spider-Man's whole life is like, I don't understand what's going on. And I don't like any of this.
Yeah. Venom gives you wings. Yeah, so they fly away, which lets them escape. Then they go back to, like, their little hideout. And the Maker's like, hey, this would be a great time for you guys to round up all those heroes now because now... we're gonna have to fight all these Venom symbiotes that Cassidy turned into the prison, and now he's got Norman Osborn. So he's basically building an army that we gotta defeat. So Spider-Man goes to recruit all the Marvel heroes, and Venom goes to get all the bad guys that have worn the suit. And I guess in the meantime, the Carnages, Norman Carnage, and the actual Carnage, Cassidy, they've decided to go after the bad guys as well. And so it kind of cuts to like this big epic fight scene that's going on already. And it's like Miles Morales and Scorpion are already fighting like a horde of the symbiote acolytes or whatever. And then all of a sudden Venom shows up to help him out. And it is not going well. The Scorpion and him are fighting all these. Pretty much every time they see Carnage, more and more, there's like more and more Carnage, like symbiote helpers or whatever. Did you know that Scorpion had been Venomized before? It seems like everybody apparently in this fucking universe has been a Venom at some time.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I've seen Venomized pops of a lot of different characters. I was like, oh, that would be cool if there was a story, but I haven't read.
Apparently there is one.
And apparently it was like, Deadpool kills the Marvel universe. Apparently Venom venomized the Marvel universe or something.
Fucks the Marvel universe or whatever it would be called. Yeah, apparently like Wolverine and Captain America and the Thing, like a bunch of people I would not think would be a Venom story, were apparently Venom stories. So Scorpion's fighting with them, and this was kind of badass. Like, Cletus Cassidy catches up with him, and he's fighting Scorpion. They're kind of fighting together, and Cletus, or Carnage, I guess, grabs him and like shoves a Carnage spike through his back, and he paralyzes Scorpion. Like,
Oh,
goes
yeah.
right through his suit or whatever. I was like, holy shit. Like, that's fucked up. He's
Yeah,
like,
there was
I
some-
can't feel my legs. I was like, Jesus Christ. So Miles Morales flies in to try to help him, and like it automatically gets corrupted by Venom. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he doesn't hold his own in this one very.
Not at all. He like automatically, like, it seemed like Venom was a lot better at transmitting to other people than like the Grendel Dragon was in the first book. So like Grendel Dragon would fight you and you didn't become a Venom symbiote even if he was all around you and everything. But now that it's Carnage, he can just like touch you and you can get venomized
Yeah.
or whatever.
Well,
or, symbiote.
As this one goes along too, we kind of see that like that's kind of part of his plan too, is like the more the merrier, kind of like
Yeah.
if you're gonna collect these codexes to wake up Null anyway, you might as well like make them useful and like, oh well,
we're all helping each other now.
Yeah, so you're just gonna be part of the fight.
Yeah. Oh, and another one, like so they have this fight and like Miles Morales becomes like a 6-armed spider symbiote Venom or Carnage thing, and then he's evil now, but he's like stuck inside the limbo and inside this Carnage head or symbiote head of him, and then Scorpion and Eddie get away. And Venom brings back Scorpion to Rex's, Rex Strickland's safe house, where the Maker is, and he's like, "Don't worry, buddy. I got someone that'll take care of you. It's fine. It's gonna be okay." And then he opens the door, and Spider-Man's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And all the heroes are already there. He's got Captain America, the Thing, Wolverine, Bruce Banner's there. And he's got this little kid there. I guess it's Normie Osborn, who's, I guess, Spider-Man. Spider-Man is his godfather, which is weird, but I guess the Norman or the Osborns made Spider-Man the godfather of the grandson of Norman Osborn. So that's nice of them. And then the Maker's basically like, well, now that everybody's here, let's get started. So he puts everybody like in his machine, and it just cuts to like hours later. This was like one of the coolest parts, I thought. Eddie's looking at Captain America in the tube, getting like, he looks kind of like the alien when they're asleep tubes, and he's looking at it. Eddie's looking at Captain America. He's like, "Man, I hope this all works out or whatever." And then Spider-Man walks up to him and he's like, "Yeah, and what are you gonna do about the kid? Are you gonna tell him?" And Eddie Brock's like, "What do you mean tell him?" He's like, "That you're his dad." And he's like, starts laughing or whatever. He's like, "I should have known," basically. Something like that. Like he says something like, "I should have known." And then he's like, "What the fuck?" And then all of a sudden behind Spider-Man is Eddie Brock. And he's like, "That's not me." and then Carnage like appears. He starts freaking out and getting all Carnage-y and symbiote-y and starts growing. And basically he snuck in somehow as Eddie Brock. I don't know how he did it though. Like they don't tell you or anything.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah, because when they go off and you leave, because it cuts back to Carnage for a second too. And I love there's a little bit of back and forth because Norman thinks he's Carnage. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna get him and we're gonna go like kill those guys." And actual Cassidy is like, "Hold on, I have a plan. We got this." And he's like, "What are you talking about? I make the rules here. I make the plans." And he's like, "No, you're not Carnage. I am."
Yeah. He's like,
"Why don't you shut up?"
It's like, "No, I'm Carnage." Like they have this little back and forth banter, which is always fun.
It was fun making.
It's like two crazy guys arguing
"What are you
about who
talking
is
about?
who.
I am."
I am me. I am
me.
dead me. All right, and you are a poser me or whatever. It's like, no, I'm the real one.
And like Eddie and Venom are having like an internal like struggle monologue because Eddie's like, "I really don't think we can do this." I don't think
Yeah,
we
they
can
fought
win."
him a couple times now.
Yeah,
so.
and Venom's like, "No, we got to take him on. We have to kill him and do this." And Eddie's like, I don't think we can kill him. I don't think this is going to go down that way." And Venom's like, "Well, if you don't do this, like, we're going to find someone who's strong enough to do it." It's the first time I've ever seen Venom be like, "Screw Eddie Brock." So all these other symbiotes are coming and showing up, but that's when, bam, we have other superheroes.
Yeah, so like they're fighting and losing essentially, like Spider-Man. And I think Spider-Man and Eddie Brock took the kids, Normie Osborn and Eddie Brock's son, and they're like, "Keep them safe." And so Spider-Man's with the kids, and he's fighting Norman Osborn and the symbiotes there, and then Eddie Brock's been fighting and pretty much by himself Oh, and we should also say that basically the Maker we haven't seen him for a while during this whole fight. I don't know where he went.
I mean, I get obviously he's got his own, like you said, agenda and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, but he just kind of is like, ooh, and disappears into the shadows.
He leaves for some reason, but Banner was the one kind of running the heroes getting the codex moved out of them, and they made it very clear that like, oh, the Hulk's never been venomized, so like this never happened.
So he doesn't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything to worry about. So they're all losing and everything, and then Venom is fighting, with Eddie Brock and everything, Carnage, and like we said, Venom is like, you're not doing anything, like you're not going all out. Like,
yeah, he's letting him beat up on you basically.
yeah, and like you're I don't know if it's just that he didn't have the will, or he felt like he knew they were gonna lose no matter what, but like his will had been broken kind of thing. So Venom's like, well, fuck this. I'm gonna go and like get the heavy hitter, and he leaves Eddie Brock and he jumps onto Bruce Banner, and he becomes Venom Hulk. And
yeah, and that was really cool.
it was cool. I kind of wish it lasted longer than it did, because it's a cool concept, and it had more power or more impact, because when this happens, we had just read Planet Hulk a couple weeks ago. And in that, he's kind of unstoppable, and he's kind of a badass. And in this, he is very much not unstoppable and not a badass.
We had a couple, like, he gets on him, and he didn't say we're Venom. He said we're Hulk. That was cool.
Yeah.
Like, okay, and then they fight a little bit, and he's like, Venom smash. And I was like, okay, this is getting going. And then it's like, oh.
Yeah, and then, like, basically Carnage just, like, starts fighting him, and he's like, at first he, like, gets his tentacles into Venom Hulk, and he's like, oh, I'm going to get you. And he's like, wait, what is this thing? And then that's where it's like, oh, I'm Venom Hulk, and then you're like, oh, uh-oh, now he's going to beat the shit out of Carnage. And then he does it. And then, like, Carnage is like, oh, no problem. And he, like, sticks his little tentacles into the brain of Bruce Banner inside of Hulk.
You're a weakling again.
Yeah, it was very weird. Like, he's able to basically remove Venom from the Hulk and turn Bruce Banner back or Hulk into Bruce Banner again. And which I was like, how did he do that? Because like Hulk's kind of invulnerable on Earth. The only time he was ever cut or anything was on like Sakaar when he was weakened. But once he's not weakened anymore, pretty much his anger is the only thing that like makes him, invulnerable. So I'm sure he was plenty angry as Venom Hulk or whatever.
Yeah. So it was weird. So Carnage like sucks up Venom, and it was like, oh,
yeah, and he like absorbs him.
So this is over. Like Eddie was right. Like this, I was definitely startled. I was
like, how is this gonna go? Because now Eddie doesn't have a Venom suit or anything, and so and while this was going on, Osborn was kind of fighting Spider-Man and everything, and he took him out, and then Eddie Brock's kid was it like he's got some kind of weird symbiote power. They made it like when his mom. Because his mom, I guess, had worn the suit. Mm-hmm. And so when his mom died, she was pregnant with him. They took the kid out of her, and he was alive.
And passed on some of the symbiote codex to him.
Into him, because it's like her DNA or whatever. So he's also got a little bit of it in him. And so he like...
But apparently knows how to do stuff with it a little.
I don't know. It seemed like it was just out of fear or something. He like... All of a sudden, Osborn's like, I'm going to get me some kids or whatever. And then... and then he like looks at Osborn, and he gets a little swirly eyes or whatever, and then he's like, ah! And he like does a force push or whatever, and all of a sudden Osborn goes splat.
Yeah. That's right. The symbiote just kind of like explodes off him. You're like, oh,
yeah,
crap.
Yeah, not like forever. It just goes away, and then it comes back pretty fast. And then at that time, Eddie Brock's kid is passed out from the power usage, so it's kind of like he's kind of like a Gohan, He's like, you think he's supposed to be all super powerful?
How dare you hurt my dad?
He's got a secret power, but it never really pays off fully for some reason.
No, when he's little.
When he's little, yeah. So
and all this time, so Eddie has to like try to. Eddie is like had lost the will, and then Venom got taken, and then he's like, oh, I guess I have to be a hero now. Like it was an interesting. Eddie's like, I wish I could be a good hero like Cap and all of them.
Yeah,
and so like.
He goes down into the weapons area where they had the guns from the last Venom book we read, and they like all the Cap shield is in there, and a couple other of the weapons from the people that are in stasis or whatever. And he's like, I'll take him on anyway. And he like gets Cap shield and then some sort of
metal gauntlet
arm. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I was trying to think, what the fuck is it?
I was like, it's not Bucky's arm, and it's not like the.
I thought maybe it was the Shocker's arm or something, because he shocks people with it like Spider-Man does.
Yeah, it does
so
yeah.
He goes out with that, and he starts fighting unpowered, and he's not doing very well, but he's able to free Miles Morales.
Yeah, that was cool.
So because Miles, he just shocks Miles, as Venomized or Carnageized Miles, and so he shocks him, and then Miles comes out of the Venom suit or the Carnage suit, and then so they're fighting, and then all of a sudden you get like, "We'll help you," and then like.
Yeah. Oh, it was cute because like Captain America put his hand on Eddie's shoulder because there was like a pause in the battle or whatever because Miles been freed and they beat up some of them. And yeah, Cap, you just see the red hand on his shoulder. He's like, "You did a good job, son, but we'll take it from here."
We'll take it from here. And he grabs his shield back and he's like, "I got it." And then it was funny because they all start fighting and they like instantly fucking lose too.
Yeah.
like within like a page, they're all on the ground, passed out, beaten up or whatever, like of no use to anybody. So then Eddie with his electrical shocker hand or whatever, he's like, I feel like all the other codexes that apparently were not destroyed. Like he goes, he can feel something, and he turns around and the machine is there, and apparently all the codexes that they've taken from people are inside this machine. They're not destroyed.
Yeah,
the maker lied. He was storing them for some reason. We don't know why. He goes and he runs over to the area where he can feel them, and he punches a hole in there, and then all these like symbiotes come out, and they're like little micro versions of symbiotes, but there's so many of them, which I was like, where did they get all of them? I thought they only did Captain America and the Thing and.
Well, I guess he had been collecting more.
Apparently, we don't know.
I don't know.
Some of these, like you said, some of these things are logic leaps that I'm just going with because it's fun. And it was kind of a blast to read.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to,
suspend belief. It's comic book.
Suspend disbelief because, it's fun. And so apparently he's got a bunch of these in there. So he absorbs all these symbiotes, and then he becomes like a version of Venom again. And then he takes on Carnage Venom. So once again, Carnage has now absorbed Venom, the suit, and Eddie, as the new, symbiote that he is, which I guess is Venom again.
Well, except it was cool because that was the one thing, because he absorbed all these symbiotes that were in these other people, it also gave them like memories and like tactics of them. So like he got like Captain America's strategy and like Wolverine's like super that was kind of like a neat little like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So it made him like, I guess,
a better fighter.
A better fighter to fight.
Yeah, like it gave him the will and like the ability to, fight Carnage now. Because also Carnage has been getting all these powers from everybody he's been fighting with and stuff. That's what they said is like when he absorbed the Hulk Venom, he got Hulk's power.
Yeah.
It was like not a good thing that Hulk got venomized, basically. So he got like a piece of that Hulk power. So he was extra strong now. And so they're fighting, and out of somewhere, and this was kind of like just like in the first trade, when Null pulls out a sword somehow and kills a god, he pulls out a sword.
It's the God Killer sword. They have that in a lot of stories for some reason.
It's a god sword somewhere, and he pulls it out and he stabs Cassidy through the spine, which I am assuming, because they kept mentioning spines, I'm assuming like the spine is like important for symbiotes. So it really mortally wounds Cassidy, and now like basically his plans have been shattered, but it's already too late. All of this was for nothing. They don't know it, I don't think. They're just like, well, that was close, and they like, like they think they defeated Carnage, but what actually happened is Null was able to, like, I guess Carnage got enough, probably with the Hulk and everything.
Oh no, but I think once, because that happens and then he gets actual Venom back and they start talking in their heads again, and that's when Venom's like, Eddie's like, we did it, and Venom's like, nah.
Oh, okay.
He can hear us. now he's escaped. Basically,
He's awake now.
Yeah,
So Null, who was in his slumber inside the symbiote planet, is now awake, and he
is coming.
And it shows him riding on a big dragon that he made out of symbiotes, and so it leaves on a cliffhanger, but a fun cliffhanger. And then they also go back to Eddie, and they're like, he said something about his kid in front of his kid, and then he's like, "You're my dad,"
Yeah. Did you say I'm your son?
Yeah. So that's also a cliffhanger. What's gonna happen with that? But yeah, this was a pretty fun story.
I really liked at the end. So I think they won, and like I said, Venom and Eddie have that conversation. So Eddie knows that's gonna happen now, but that's about it. So Peter Parker's like, "Hey, we won," and Venom is like, or Eddie and Venom are like, "Yeah, we won, buddy." And he hugs Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's like, "What's going on?
What are you doing?
What are you hugging me for?"
Yeah, I thought their dynamic was really good.
Yeah, they did really good with that.
It's he kept saying I just want whatever we are, whatever this is, I just want to say thanks or whatever. The kind of so I've always thought of you as someone I could live next to according to state laws and all that stuff. So it was a fun, weird dynamic between them where they were we want to be closer than we are because we should be, because we both wear this suit, or we've both worn this suit, and we've both been through so much together, and we can't quite admit to that and bro hug or whatever it out and get past that line of you're a bad guy or whatever. So anything else you want to cover?
No, in particular, I think we hit all the main points. I had to make that last note about their little
yeah.
Hey man, bring it in here, man.
Yeah, bring it in. Yeah. So, on that note, what would you give this one, John?
I liked it a lot. I think the Venom Rex reintroducing me to Venom and the story, and giving that contextual background, and then especially the Beowulf part, I thought that was cool. I think that one I was a little more my mind was kind of, well, not my mind blown, but I really, really loved it. And this one was this was a solid follow-up story.
Right.
I loved it.
A continuation of it.
I want to see what's next. It kept me involved. It was like reading when we read the Dark Knight series, but volume 2.
Yeah.
But I was much more even intent, I feel on this one. And little soft spot because I've always liked Spider-Man growing up. Right. So having him as part of the story was fun. And I always liked Venom. He was cool, but again, he was just the big, scary, symbiote version of Spider-Man. So I didn't really have much more than that. So yeah, it was good. So overall, I would probably give this one, I would probably say 7. It was a solid read. I would totally read it again.
I think we gave this one 7s last time.
Oh, did we give?
I think we gave Rex 7.
Rex a 7. Oh, okay, then can I give it the same?
I think we did. I don't think we gave it an 8. That seemed too high for.
Man, see, that's like you said. I like everything when I really like stuff too. So
that's fine. You can.
It's gonna be.
I'm just trying to compare because for me, just like you said, Spider-Man. You like Spider-Man. I don't like Spider-Man. So
but you enjoyed this.
I enjoyed it, but it's one of my least favorite characters to read about and stuff in that universe.
Hater.
All right. Yes, I am. So,
everybody loves Spider-Man.
So, are you gonna hold your 7? Or are you gonna?
Yes, I'm gonna hold my 7. I'm gonna put Rex at a 7.5.
Okay,
it's just a little. It was a little.
Who's got a 0.5 now, John? Giving me shit earlier for that. Anyway, yeah. I think I'm going to give this one a good 6.5 because I had fun. It's just a continuation of a story that was good for me, but it's not my favorite character line or whatever, But it's good. It's solid. I fully enjoyed myself.
Do you not understand with great power comes great responsibility?
I think everybody knows that because we've been beaten over the head with it so much.
You know what? Just if they're going to do it, it's do it like the Into the Spider-Verse, where it was and this happened, and that's all you need to know. That's the end of it.
We don't need the whole thing.
60-second background.
Yeah. So I'll give it a 6.5 because it was a continuation, which never feels as cool as the first one. It's like Home Alone and Home Alone 2. It's it's still fun. It's just more of the same or whatever. So, I did feel there was a couple parts where I had to give a little leap of, logic jumps there just just to give him a hand. But
Well, yeah, it's like the Maker character. Like, he was cool.
well, I think that's
But
obviously from something
more of a-
else. Like, I think he's a character in some other stuff that I don't read enough Marvel to know.
Maybe he was in the middle of Venom 2 or something.
Yeah, well, also we skipped 2 trades, so so there might have been.
How dare we? Now we're
That's
talking
fine.
out our butt.
The fact that you could skip 2 trades and this still made sense says a lot about
And
his
it's
writing.
still an awesome story.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that says a lot about his writing. So, anybody who's thinking about picking this up, we both liked it a lot. And that's saying a lot because, like I said, I don't like Spider-Man. So it takes a while for me to get into a Spider-Man book and put up with his Spider-Man-ness or whatever. But because this is from Venom and they used more than one Spider-Man, they got Miles Morales, you got a bit of everybody else, So it tempers it a bit with me. And yeah, so 6.5, 7.5. Anything else you?
No, this is 7 because Rex is 7.
Oh, I'm sorry, 7. Yeah, 6.5 and 7. Anything else we missed or anything you want to hit?
No, I just please enjoy or get through your Thor run so you can finish the story. I want to know the rest of this one. I want to see what happens.
Oh yeah, no, I think he finished his stuff on Venom and everything.
Is he one other?
I think there's another trade that he did.
Is there another? I didn't see there was a trade out of it.
I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe the trade's on it. Maybe they're individual.
Maybe Thor is the continuation of this.
Whoa.
I don't know, but
Venom Thor.
for anyone who doesn't know, Donny Cates is writing Thor now too. So maybe you can write more than one title, dude. Writing is the easy part of comics.
That's true.
You can write 10 titles a month, and then the artist has to draw. So that's the hard part.
Get to work.
Yeah, get to work, you.
No, but seriously, I enjoyed it that much. That I'm excited that we're reading these, and I know that they're newer. So I didn't know we were gonna get into as newer comics now because we kind of been hopping around with what we've been reading.
Yeah.
So
well, and I'm not like I said, I don't read modern Marvel too much, except Conan stuff. So, and that hasn't been like that. I like the Dark Horse stuff better. So I'm like, okay, we'll read the Dark Horse stuff if we're gonna read Conan. So,
that's what I'm saying. It's good, and I want to read more. So get to it.
I would say Donny Cates, solid writer. Pick him up.
Yeah,
we might read some of his. I was thinking if we wanted to read some more Donny Cates, he's done a lot of Image books. So there's a couple other ones that we could read that are just like his other stuff. So we might do that just for funsies later on. But we're not
just throw it in there.
We'll take a break from Donny because we don't want to stick too much on someone.
Yeah,
like we did Frank Miller and everything.
Yeah, Frank Miller got
a little burned out on Frank Miller, but that's okay. We enjoyed having the series. So but on that note, feel free to, if you have any comments or questions or suggestions, email us at Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word, at gmail.com.
Don't forget to check out our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. YouTube exclusive content. Matt started up some hardcover reviews. They're pretty cool. Go check them out.
Yeah, if you want to know if you should buy a certain hardcover.
Should you drop $80 on this book? Matt will let you know.
I will let you know. And they're all stuff I own. We're not getting paid for this or anything. So they're honest reviews of books. They're all stuff I've had to pay with my own money. So whether they're in print or not is another thing. but yeah, so on that note, we'll see you guys next time. Bye. Well, folks, hope you enjoyed that episode.
If you did and you'd like to follow us on social media, our Facebook is Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, and our Instagram is @Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
And be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more recommendations to add to your weekly pull list.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.